welcome to our third session of our webinar series. This time we're talking about how to optimize your email marketing channel. The reason we're addressing this really is because we have, as we're going into 2023 more and more and more, and of course it is 2023, we're seeing a lot of businesses still not either utilizing their email marketing channel or optimizing it as efficiently as they can. This comes off the back of social media channels like LinkedIn going down and people suddenly realizing actually they could be utilizing their audiences to make money that way. So that if social media ever did go down again, then they've still got income coming in, as it were. So yeah, as will probably be diving into optimizing your channel, how to get started as well. So if you haven't started, this is for you. B2B and B2C as well. So don't panic, we'll cover everything. Okay, so just briefly, if you really don't know, email marketing, it is basically a email. It will vary in terms of, say, for example, if you're B2B, you might just want to publish a newsletter and it might be business news or industry updates or things like that. And we've got a little bit of a tidbit here. So in actual fact, the first email marketing started in 1978. And to this day, it still remains the highest channel for return on investment. Which is, again, why we're doing this webinar, to encourage people to kind of realize that this channel is the one and only. And also you can tie in a lot of other channels as well with it, but we'll come on to that in a minute. So yeah, it's great for getting a direct message in front of your audience. The audience is already there to buy because they would have subscribed to you. And when they have subscribed, they will understand what they're hopefully receiving, and also how often they're receiving it. And we'll address that as well a little bit later on in terms of like, if you're finding that you're getting a lot of unsubscribes, there may be a reason for that, and that is one of those reasons. And then also email marketing nowadays is a really great option for trying to personalize your marketing towards your audience. So, for example, you could create a workflow or a customer journey within your email service provider to create a series of emails based on an event. So it could be a case of a business anniversary, or whether your customer has a birthday, or yeah, there's lots of different directions you can take it as well. So plenty of options there.
Yeah, and I know that personalization can also mean something simple as having an option to like put the first name of the person who's receiving the email into the email. So when they sign up for a newsletter or an email, they tend to have their information details in the list. And then there's a bit of code that you can insert into an email on most platforms that are quite easy to use. They tend to be quite different from platform to platform, like the exact coding. But once you put it in, then they will be able to receive emails that have, hi, first name. And it kind of just adds that sense of like they're talking directly to the audience. So in terms of personalization, it means both you can segment based on events, who they are, and then you can also add personalization in terms of the email messaging itself. So it's very good at kind of direct messaging to an audience who are already engaged and already aware of who you are. So when it comes to email marketing, they can also have the option to unsubscribe. So it's always good to have kind of that level in email marketing as well, just to give them the option to be able to be like, this email isn't for me. It's not the kind of stuff that I'm asking for. So having that option to like opt out is it's necessary in email as well. So just make sure that when you set up emails, you have the unsubscribe option. A lot of emails will have that already implemented in their footer, but you can add that as well.
I agree, and I think email is definitely one of those things. If people receive a lot of emails, which is why we're looking at optimization as well, and making sure that you get it right. And I think it's important that you just make sure that the first name of every email that you send out is correct. So making sure that code that April mentioned is the right one for the tool that you're using for email marketing. The amount of times I've sent emails and the amount of times that I've received emails where the first name has been F name, you'll know it and have seen it at some point. And that's basically a little piece of code that just pulls forward the name from your data list to make sure that you are addressing the right person. And sometimes it doesn't always work, or you might have misspelled it, or you might have put the wrong character into the code as well. So, and that can also cause a lot of problems where people might go, "Oh, you got my name wrong, unsubscribe." So they could kind of get a little bit funny about that. And also, if you don't offer them an option to unsubscribe, they sometimes get a little bit funny around that as well. So just make sure it's all there. But again, we'll be covering this later on as well. So the reason we're all here today is how to optimize your email marketing. There's quite a few things you can do, and this spans across all email service providers. So MailChimp, for example, MailerLite, the other ones that might be out there, MooSend. So it really depends on which platform you're choosing. And then also, because obviously you've got those different ones out there, it's essential that you choose the right one for your business. I mean, ultimately they all do the same thing, but it's a case of kind of like looking at the usability and the functionality kind of side of things. Because most people will have known MailChimp because it's the most popular and it is the most user friendly and things like that. But sometimes it might be a case that actually it's too expensive, or you want to make sure that as you're growing as a business, you kind of want to have a cheaper option behind you.
Definitely, it's always good to research beforehand what works for you. I know a lot of them are very similar, but some are a bit trickier to use than others. Again, MailChimp is one of the easiest, and you can get I think it's the same for most email marketing platforms, but you can actually get certified. They have a lot of training available for you to make the most out of their platform. So it's just kind of look on the market and see what works for you when it comes to choosing your email provider.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also making sure that having that knowledge there as well, and also like for example, MailChimp, they will have a directory of like FAQs. So if you get stuck somewhere, they've got the knowledge on hand. Also, they have a live chat as well, so they can actually help you straight away if you get stuck, which is really, really helpful, especially if you're new to it all. Or if you want to go down a more advanced route, then you might say, okay, well, actually, MailChimp isn't very good for HTML coding to get into the nitty gritty of email design. So you might choose something a bit more, advanced in terms of creating emails on the content side of things.
Definitely, yeah. Just you can play around as well. I mean, a lot of people will change providers, so just keep an eye on what's best for you, keep an eye on the prices and kind of what their capabilities are, because how many people you even have on your email lists will affect the pricing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think, everybody's on about ROI nowadays, and I think it's definitely keeping an eye on those things when it comes to choosing the right platform for you. And the next one is we're going to talk about a little bit about data. Data is the most important thing, especially when it comes to GDPR and things like that. If you don't know what GDPR is, I really recommend that you read up on it. It's basically just data protection policy. This is where you'll subscribers actually opt in to receiving your emails as well. And it's becoming a lot trickier as well, because obviously trying to obtain that data, and just making it really, really, really clear on any website or anywhere that you kind of want people to sign up from as well. So giving them that double opt-in in the first instance will make sure your data is clean and viable, so that you don't end up, your emails end up in the junk folder or whatever. And yeah, so it's more for that side of things as well.
Yeah, that again kind of emphasizes the importance of having unsubscribed options as well, just to keep in regulation for GDPR. So yeah, just make sure it's there. You can have your own, just stick to the regulations, because people will be on it. There are a few people that there are certain not loopholes, but there are certain ways that you can email business emails, not personal emails. So really look on your GDPR to see the capabilities of your email and who you can actually target.
Yes, I haven't seen this personally, but I do know people, say, for example, if you're thinking of starting a new company, or you've got another company that you think, oh, right, I could just use this data. No, absolutely not, because not only are you violating GDPR, but also if the audience is subscribed already to that company that you have, and the company is different, you might find that you have a high unsubscribe rate based on the fact that the content isn't what they want to receive anyway. And that can be damaging as well, because you'll face blacklisting, which is really not good.
Yeah, it's so intrusive as well. People just don't want to be bombarded with sales stuff that they're not even put the option in for.
Yeah, I think receiving a salesy email, no. Nobody likes it, especially in 2023. So it's why email marketing is it's experimenting, and it's trying to get people to part with the hard-earned cash. But at the end of the day, you don't want to sound too salesy, because you'll either end up in the spam folder, or they'll just end up blocking you anyway.
Yeah,
The next
definitely.
thing, the next thing is segmenting your audience. So you've got all this data, and segmentation of that data is key. We can see up to 50% open rates by segmenting your data. So it's crucial. Even if you've got a small email list, you can do that. You'll find that the open rates are a little bit higher. And because I know a lot of small businesses might go, well, actually, I only have an audience of 100 people. Well, first of all, what did they sign up for? Can you go down to a geographical location? Can you divide by gender? And just silly little things like that, just really optimize messaging and targeting your audience in the first instance.
Yeah, I think it's a lot helpful as well with things like product types when it comes to segmenting. So an example I like to use is so if you work for a game company, you're not going to send emails to a PS4 user about Xbox. You really want to be able to segment it's stuff that's interesting to them and tailor it around the kind of console that they have and make it as specific as possible. Because when it comes to email, you can also clone emails, so that even if you have one basic template, you can send it with little changes across multiple audiences. So you aren't spending a lot of time segmenting and creating specific layouts or messaging. You can just have the copy and then edit in small changes so that it's more time efficient, but again, does take advantage of the segmenting of your audiences.
Absolutely, and we'll come more onto segmenting in a minute, because we know for a fact that this is something businesses do struggle with, trying to narrow down their audience types, to actually boost conversion rates, open rates, just everything else, email marketing. So yeah, the next one is subject lines and preview text. This is actually follows on from segmentation, in the fact that, again, you wouldn't email a PS4 user about, oh, get 50% off Xbox games or whatever, it's just no. So just make sure that every time you type a piece of content, it's relevant to your audience, and that it is for your audience, not what you wish to see as well. Um, and then, yeah, we take that into the content of the actual email as well. So obviously the subject line and the preview text, it kind of has to relate to what's actually within the email, because they don't want to be misled. Otherwise, they're never going to trust you again.
Yeah,
So,
you
for
have a big
example,
bounce rate.
yeah, exactly. So you would find that actually, so if you're offering something for free, actually make sure that within the content they're able to access whatever it is that you're offering, and make sure that it just follows and flows nicely. I always like my emails to flow like a river. So obviously the subject line's got to be really engaging. Go, ooh, okay. Right down to the bottom of the email. It's just got to make absolute sense.
Yeah,
Um,
consistency and quality.
Absolutely, and I think that's the same with everything in marketing as well. And yeah, quality is absolutely very important in terms of emails these days, because it will just end up in the spam folder.
Yeah, I think with subject lines as well, you should have them. They need to be quite short because they will get cut off in emails. When people go to click on the email, the subject line could be missing the end few words if you make it too long. So try and have it as concise but as engaging as possible. And one thing that you can also try out is, emojis work quite well with subject lines for particular businesses, particularly B2C work really well with emojis. So
Having
again,
said that though, B2B take advantage of emojis. No one likes a boring email. I mean, I see a lot of emails now working with B2B companies, and the subject lines are so engaging. You're like, oh, this must be interesting. So you're just there like, I must read this.
yeah, to be
Um,
fair with us, we put emojis in ours and we're mainly B2B. So
yeah, absolutely. I think it makes a world of difference. Yeah. Um, in terms of your content as well, is to make sure that it's always mobile first, because then you'll find that users who like to open their emails on a mobile will be able to scroll through that email, making sure that it's readable, all the text isn't overhanging, all the images are okay, so that people can get from A to B and hopefully convert with your email as well. The amount of times I've seen emails on mobile and it's just something's overhanging, or you've got to move the email around within the box, and it's just okay.
yeah,
Yes.
luckily with a lot of email providers, when you're actually creating the template, there is an option for you to look at desktop versus mobile so that you can check that it's mobile optimized and see what it actually looks like on a mobile, even if you're creating it on a desktop. So luckily that option is there for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And obviously the next thing we come on to is call to action. So, according to HubSpot, if you have a personalized call to action, you can make up to 202% um, boosting conversions as well, which is absolutely amazing. So your call to actions could be anything from like get your tickets today, or reserve your space for the webinar, or anything like that. There's loads and loads of examples online. Um, it's just so easy to implement that and also test them as well.
Yeah, one thing that we find as well with the call to action buttons is that you can actually set up tracking on emails to be able to see where people come. So you can, on when you look at your conversions and you look at your analytics, you can tell that people have clicked through from that email. And a lot of things when it comes to the call to action is you need to make sure that, the link that it's being sent to, like the landing page, needs to reflect what you're actually saying in the email, which is again kind of the point when you come to subject lines and preview tags. So you need to make sure that everything that you're doing is clear and sticks with what you're talking about. So also have your call to action very clear. We like to have them at the top of the email, at the bottom of the email, but don't have way too many so the audience gets confused. Just stick to one or
Yeah,
two.
yeah, absolutely. And make sure they're not too long. I like to have a 4-word limit. Just because if you say, for example, I haven't got anything on here actually. Oh, maybe choose the right ESP for your business. Click. Probably shorten that a little bit. Or maybe even change the wording. So just bear that in mind. But it also comes on to A/B testing. So you could actually say, okay, well, I want to test my CTAs. So in one email, I'm going to put choose the right ASP for your business, and in the other email I might say, click here to find the perfect. That's probably a bit too long, but you get my point. Or click here, yeah. And then you can actually test to see which email wins that particular test, and then you can send that test email out to the rest of your audience. A/B testing, we like to say, actually reserve that for audiences over 1,000. So if you've got a small audience now, you don't necessarily have to worry, but it's just something to keep considering for future.
Definitely. And as well, A/B test your subject lines and preview text. Just as
Yeah,
a
you can.
hint.
Yes, you can test your call to actions, your subject lines, preview text, and also your content as well. So you could say, actually, I want to test if I've segmented my audience correctly. So I might send a PS4 email out to my audience. Or you could say, okay, let's go one step further and go, right, I want to see how much of my audience are PS4 lovers. You might send out content about PS4, and then you can see, kind of gauge kind of a response from that, and as to whether that's the kind of content your audience want to look at. So the next one obviously is avoiding spam triggers. We know businesses do struggle with this quite a lot. Everybody hates a junk folder. One of the things with, in particular in MailChimp, is that typically the way of MailChimp emails is they do end up in the spam folder on Outlook. There are obviously ways of avoiding that, so like accepting the email address, who it's coming from, and just like avoid specific wording within the actual email as well.
I also suggest sending test emails to people in your organization, even yourself, just to see if the email does come through and how it looks. Because a lot of times you might get the "do you trust the sender" message, and none of the images will load, or a lot of the design elements won't load. So yeah, try and avoid the spam triggers and send test emails to see how it actually appears in your inbox and the inbox of your team.
Yeah, there's a lot of examples on the internet as well where they give you actual spam trigger words. So like free is heavily heavily avoid the word free if you can, because it's more often than not it ends up in the junk folder. So just find other ways to actually try and communicate your message across. Yes.
Yeah. Try not to oversend emails as well. Like one a day is far too many for some businesses. So I've signed up to an email, and I haven't unsubscribed yet, just because I haven't gotten round to it. It's probably the best way to say it, but I get about 5 or 6 emails from them a day, and it's just way too much. So yeah, try to keep the number down to the point where you're not like essentially annoying your target audience.
Oh, I had 3 the other day, which were in the space of half an hour, and I was thinking, this is way too much. And I know who you are and what you do, but I was just thinking, do I hit the unsubscribe? But they just provide such good information. But at the same time, I don't necessarily need to receive all 3, because one of them was a geographical event. And I thought to myself, well, I'm not going to travel all the way up to Manchester just for that. So they could have actually, you know, said, well, let's only target the audience within Manchester, because I know their tickets always sell out as well. So they could actually say, right, okay, well, let's target the audience within Manchester, within 50 miles or so. Because for someone like myself, I'm not necessarily going to get on a train or drive, or in their case, the event might be on a day that I have to be at work. So it's just taking all these things into consideration as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And the last thing is you can optimize your email marketing and boost conversions by having customer journeys and workflows such as abandoned cart emails, welcome emails, and other things like rewards and loyalty. You don't necessarily have to introduce rewards and loyalty straight away, because obviously your audience might not be big enough, or your business might just be starting out, and discounts you don't really want to think about yet. So I definitely set up work welcome emails and abandoned cart emails. The reason being is because we lose out on a lot of purchases as well. So, for example, it's a great way to not only keep hold of your existing customers, but a way of luring new customers in. So, for example, you might be selling a t-shirt, and the customer's added it to their basket, but they're hesitant on whether they should buy or not. They might have left it in their basket on the basis that they might be going onto social media and looking up, saying, okay, where can I find this t-shirt? Is it the trend right now? Is it, is it vegan? Is it, made of cotton? Is it, fair trade or whatever? And you might say, okay, well, let's send an email saying, right, we see that you've abandoned your cart. T-shirt is blah 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 blah, hitting all the nails on the head, straight into their inbox, direct messaging, not competing with any mixed messages that's on social media. But also, if you can, is offer them a discount. Might not always be the way for the reasons I've described if you're starting out or you're a small company, but it's just reminding them that the offer is there, and also making sure that they are aware that the t-shirt that they might have gone off to research is still there for them as well.
Yeah, it's the last little push in the sales.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
to get them over that hump. Abandoned cart emails, they can also be, you can have more than one, so that you can have, you've left this in your in your cart, come back, and then you can email again in the next 24 hours just saying, oh, are you sure, because we're going to remove this from your from your cart if you don't want to buy. Another good automation is, like Jenny said previously, the site, thanks for signing up. It's kind of that confirmation that they're now like in that list. And when they sign up for events, it gives that confirmation that they're actually going to be attending. So now people kind of expect email automations with stuff like this, just to kind of put them at ease that they have made the purchase. So try and set up as many customer journey workflows that kind of fit the needs of your customers and based on what you're offering. And a lot of email templates like MailChimp, for example, and HubSpot do have the kind of ones already set up that are kind of easy to use and kind of easy to implement into your email marketing campaigns. So the templates are basically easy to understand and follow, and they're kind of already set up, and will make suggestions based on the kind of stuff that you already offer. So I would just kind of review how people use your business and how they make purchases, and then go based on that. With email triggers as well, you can also have them so that they've clicked a particular link on the website, or they've filled out a form in the last, you can set time basis as well, so that you can have, like, for example, if they have an event coming up, they could be like, oh, thanks for signing up for your event, and then you can have another one like an hour or a day before the event, just reminding people to attend. So there's so many workflows and triggers that you can set up, and journeys that you can set up based on what you offer and the audience segmentation.
I think just going back a little bit as well is to focus on like subscribers as well. So subscribers will be expecting your emails, but how do you actually get more subscribers on board? So you might actually introduce a discount code to get them to sign up, in which case your welcome email will be very much appreciated from your audience. I think as well, just reverting back a little bit, is looking at the data side of things. If people find that they unsubscribe from your audience or anything like that, you will need to keep replacing your subscribers. So by actually having those workflows in place, you'll be able to, welcome your new subscribers easier and actually start to get to know them in terms of customer behavior as well. So it's starting them on a journey, a conversational journey as well. So you can say, right, okay, well, how loyal is this customer going to be? Is there a customer lifetime value we can put on them? How much they're going to spend, and all these other things in terms of data. And it all comes very much down to experimentation. So experimenting with your audiences, with your content, and with your customer journeys, and automated emails as well. So we're coming on to a little bit more about segmenting your audience, which is one of the most common problems or most common perceived problem. So for example, I've joined several or been in several businesses now where there's been a case of they've emailed the entire audience and the open rates, the click-through rates, everything has just been low. So it's having to implement the segmentations to the audiences has been very much a key part of my role for a long time. But it's just how you go about doing that. So once obviously you've got your data, wherever that may come from, obviously we've talked a little bit about why you shouldn't use data from another company or buying another audience. But it's just cleaning up that data as well. So if you sent like a welcome email from an automated messaging, you might receive bounces, which you can remove those emails from your list because either the email address isn't working or there's something else not quite right there. So there's no point emailing if they're just not going to receive the email because it's just a waste of money at the end of the day. So there's a few things you can segment your audience with, especially within MailChimp, it will give you those options anyway. They'll list like best ones, I guess, under the I'm trying to think what it's called. But yeah, so you can list by geographical, so location, and this is great if you've got an events business or anything else like if you're a B2B business in technology and you might want to target US audiences for X product or UK audience for X product and vice versa, and expand that from there as well. You can segment based on gender, so this is helpful for B2C if you're selling a lot of clothes or things like that. You can also segment by type of product or preferences. So there was a company I once worked for, we separated the gin drinkers from the rum drinkers. Sometimes it would be within both, which is fine, but a lot of the times the rum drinkers didn't necessarily like gin and vice versa as well. Another one is active and inactive subscribers. So MailChimp will help you here, and it's really easy to follow their guide as well to get to this point. So you might want to look at sending emails to inactive subscribers just to see whether they come back on board with you. It's a great way of gaining customer retention and reactivating some of those people that may have been interested in you in the past and may still be interested in you, but they haven't actually necessarily received the right type of content as of yet, or they might just need a little bit of more provoking. And then also you've got your active subscribers, so you might want to say, okay, well, they're doing really well. The customer lifetime value of them is really, really high. Let's reward them. So you might offer a discount there. In terms of B2B, you might say, right, okay, actually, let's just keep it real simple, just focus on job titles. And that's really, really helpful, especially if you've got multiple people in the same company, but the email you might be sending might be more geared towards like the CEO or the decision makers of the company, whereas you might not want to send that email to someone, say, who's within, a shop floor role or whatever. So yeah, those are the typical ones that you might find.
Yeah, you can also base, in terms of like job titles as well, you can base it on sectors. So for example, if you're a B2B and you do focus on multiple industries, you can have multiple audiences based on the kind of industry you want to target. So if you're going to talk about, for example, target the tech industry, then you can have a list of people who work in tech, and then you can send them very specific services dedicated to that industry. And then also if you focus on something like hospitality, you can really tailor your personalize your content to that kind of industry.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've covered quite a lot already, and I appreciate how much information we might be imparting. But we've got loads of information on our social media platforms. You can always find half this information on there. It's within our blogs as well. So, and also you can always pause this during the catch up as well. So, just to take a break. As I know we've communicated quite a lot of this with you already. But yeah, this is just to talk a little bit about what else you could be doing. So we've already covered welcome emails, abandoned cart, loyalty rewards. The other thing as well is communication. So you might think, okay, well, let's launch a newsletter. And it may be a case that you want to say, you know, we're closed over Easter. Just something as simple as that, or it might be a bit more advanced and say like, okay, so we want to communicate a little bit more about our product or whatever it might be.
I think with communication, you can also have internal marketing as well. So you can email, if you're a large organization, you can email colleagues on what you've been up to, what different segment, like for example, what different marketing's been up to, what sales has been up to, what drivers have been up to if you've got a fleet. So I mean, internal communication is important in terms of marketing as well, because if people are treated well by employers, they tend to spread word of mouth, and people would want to actually buy from people who do treat their customers well and treat their employees well. Yeah.
Absolutely, communication is a big one. So yeah, having that internal marketing as well is great to celebrate those little wins. Or maybe a case that you might need to pick up the slack somewhere that might not be working out for you. So it's just emails are a great way of communicating. You don't necessarily even have to have a meeting. It can just literally be like bam, 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 done. So yeah, it's just yeah. And then obviously for B2B, you might want to nurture leads in your sales funnel. So obviously we'll go back a little bit to segmentation. You might want to nurture your leads in terms of segmenting them out into cold, warm, and leads that have converted as well. So it may be a case you might want to move a specific person from cold to warm, and MailChimp actually does this as well. So if they notice that the person has responded or actually commute or open the email, they might move that lead from cold to warm. So it's very much down to you how you set that all up as well.
You can also upsell as well through, like, if you know that someone's bought something, you can email them on the next stages or the next step or the next, if they've bought something like a standard package, you can offer them the premium after a while. So there's so much that you can do really in marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it ties in well nicely with the CRM. So if you're one of the bigger companies, you might think, actually, I'm getting a lot of leads, but I'm really not sure how to keep track of all the data and information, things like that. Things like HubSpot, Salesforce, MailChimp kind of does have a CRM, but MailChimp does also integrate with things like that as well. So even if you want something a bit more advanced and a bit more technical, there is that option there too as well. So we're going to address a little most common problems with email marketing. Obviously, the most common complaints are no to low open rate, no to low CTR, which is click-through rate, high bounce rate, and high unsubscribe. So all of these statistics are available on platforms like MailChimp. Some of the other platforms also do include it within their reports, but it may be a case of using calculations to kind of work it out yourself as well. So it's super easy to figure that out. Quick Google and it'll give you the calculation at the top there as well. So in terms of a no low open rate, there are a few reasons here, including a subject line or preview text, which might not have been engaging enough. So we addressed this earlier in terms of it might be the case that silly little things such as email emojis or personalization can be enough to not warrant people clicking through.
Yeah, and you can there's also the risk of things going in junk mail as well. They might not get it. That's why they're not opening it.
Absolutely, yes. And then also with the subject line or preview text, it could just be completely targeting the wrong audience as well. So it's just making sure right from the onset, well, obviously in the testing phase, you can send test emails to yourself, but just make sure you have the right audience selected in the first instance as well. The no to low CTR or click-through rate, we find that people generally don't click through because the content is unengaging or they're targeting the wrong audience again. So just check that you selected the right audience or make sure that your messaging is correct for that audience as well. It's very easy to mix that up, and because obviously you've got the option to replicate your templates, replicate your emails as well. So just always double check by sending a self-test email.
This is again where A/B testing is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Also a weak CTA. So if you have one CTA on your email, then possibly, not saying that's always the case, but possibly. You can tell this by looking at the reports further by seeing what people clicked on within your email as well, so that there is a good breakdown with what people have been clicking on as well. The next one is a high bounce rate. So we covered this earlier about data cleanup. So if you've got a lot of, if you've got a high bounce rate, it may be a case that there are a lot of email accounts that have been deactivated or there's false information there somewhere. So you might need to just go through your audience, clean up, removing any emails that aren't necessarily, working anymore or might not have opened an email within, say, 3 to 6 months. Especially if you've employed a strategy where you've said, okay, right, I'm going to target all of my inactive subscribers with a discount code. Anyone that doesn't respond to that, remove. Just wasting your time and you're wasting your money. So the last one is the high unsubscribe rate. This might be a case of you've got weak content overall, or you've changed your messaging, or you've changed the way your business is going. It's not necessarily a bad thing because obviously people naturally unsubscribe all the time, and your audience will deplete. So that's kind of why we make it important that you try and get new subscribers on board. Whether you do that by offering a discount or service or whatever it is to try and get people on board with you.
I think, yeah, and that goes with our previous point about sending too many emails. Like me and you both said that if people keep sending emails too often, you are kind of getting spammy and would like to unsubscribe. So just kind of review how often you send emails as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just to reiterate on that point as well, is making sure that if you are sending a lot of emails, is to experiment, maybe drop it down to 1 a week, see what happens, then increase it. But again, you don't really want to have, say, 5 within 30 minutes. You don't really want to necessarily have more than 1 a day. But it may be a case that your customer journeys or workflows do send that person, say, another email, but it might be a case of thank you for purchasing or welcome or a discount code email. So just bear that in mind when you're constructing your email campaigns. We obviously discussed high bounce rate. This might actually influence your high unsubscribe rate as well. So, for example, if you've got an audience which you've purchased or whatever, then it may be a case that your audience is not actually your audience and they don't actually want to receive your emails at all. So obviously we've talked a lot about MailChimp. MailChimp is a platform that we do use. It's free for business just starting out, up to 500 subscribers. So yeah, we do like to use it for majority of our clients. Obviously, we do say, okay, well, if you've got a email that service provider that you actually prefer, and then we actually do tend to stick with them, or we actually migrate them over as well. Just because of just how easy it is to use based on that list there. But it's easy to set up, so everything straight through to authorization on the email, integrations with your website or whatever. Easy to use to make campaigns, so it's nice for us as well. And it's great for growing businesses. There's lots of reporting, lots of different things such as landing pages. You can now set up your shop on there as well. So if you're really keen on getting started with that, you can do. And also, yeah, like I said, it's just not just for emails. Yeah, there's a lot of different elements to it now as well.
Yeah, you can use forms as well. You can set up forms on MailChimp to subscribe, and then you can link them into your website and they'll build that into your audience. Yeah, like me and Jenny have both done the exams, but yeah, there is certificates of MailChimp, so that you can also basically just learn all the ins and outs based on how you want to use it. So the resources to learn are available for you if you find it particularly difficult to use.
And like I've already said, MailChimp has that live chat as well option, a lot of support. Our team here, obviously, we're all certified in that area, so we can provide a lot of support as well. So if you don't like live chat but rather speak to someone face to face, you can always just get in touch with us. You can find a lot of information on our socials, blogs. It's all there. If you prefer to read as well, MailChimp has a lot of information around different things and how to set it all up as well.
I feel like we're marketing MailChimp now.
Yeah. So yeah, in conclusion, at the end of the day, it's your data. So use it how you wish to. This is just obviously we've noticed a lot of businesses not implementing email marketing at all, or they're not optimizing as to how they should. With that in mind, through optimization, email marketing can easily generate 200% of total revenue for your business. So it's definitely one of those things to consider doing if you haven't already.
And subscribe to our email newsletter.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Um, well, with our emails, you'll find us on Catch Up. You'll find our next webinar dates. You'll find business news and industry insights, as we've already discussed as well. So there's a lot going on in the background here at Baker Marketing. Well, thank you very much for attending our third webinar session. We hope you enjoyed it, and I do appreciate that's a lot of information to take on board. But yeah, if you feel like you need a little bit more information or anything at all, just get in touch. We are offering free email marketing audits at the moment, so please just get in touch if you feel you need that extra support.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.